So, Thorgerth, the mother of our hero Refr, was in a dispute with her vile neighbour Thorbjorn. He had been sending his animals across the river into Thorgerth's property, where they devastated her farm. She had hired Barthie the Short as her servant, who successfully kept Thorbjorn's animals from crossing that river. But Randveig, wife of Thorbjorn, noticed that her animals were not quite as fat as they used to be, and they produced far less milk. She asked her husband why this was. He told her, "The animals now only graze on our bank of the river." Randveig was outraged. She knew that Barthie the Short was preventing their animals from stealing food from Thorgerth's land. She told her husband, "Our animals grow weak, and we grow poorer, all because of that miserable, tiny wretch, Barthie the Short, who's preventing our animals from crossing the river. How could you let this fool shame us? You've killed other men for far lesser offences. I demand you see that wretch and punish him for what he has done to us." Thorbjorn met Barthie the Short, and he said, "Barthie, you wretch! My wife tells me you've been beating my animals and stopping them feeding. They're smaller and I'm poorer because of you. I demand you stop this." Barthie said, "It's no lie I've stopped your animals crossing the river, but I've never beaten them, nor have I stopped them feeding on your own side of the river. There's plenty of good grass on your own land, and besides, you'll be farming far more honestly if your animals stick to your own side. This is the job that Thorgerth has hired me to do. I shall continue to do this until she says otherwise." Naturally, Thorbjorn was outraged he was not getting his own way, so he raised his axe, and he struck Barthie his death blow, killing the small man in one strike and feeding him to the ravens. He then announced the slaying of Barthie, as was the custom. Randveig was pleased by her husband's violent deed. She immediately drove all her animals onto Thorgerth's land. They devastated crops, they demolished haystacks, and caused damage across the whole farm. When Thorgerth found what had happened to her loyal servant, she was distraught, and she went straight to her son Refr, who was lazing about doing nothing. She said, "I shudder in my heart when I see you. You disgrace of a son! How luckless I was when I bore you, you cretin! I wish my child had been born a daughter instead of a worthless waste of a son like you. At least I could marry a daughter to a reliable man of action who would avenge our family of this great injustice. Even now, as our farm is devastated by our enemy and our good and loyal servants lie slain, you laze about indoors like a coward, behaving as if nothing has happened." Now Refr was surprised by these harsh words from his mother. He thought long and hard about what she had said. So then he picks up his father's spear and he walks down the road to Thorbjorn's house. As he walked, he practiced throwing it and retrieving it over and over again. When Thorbjorn's servants saw him, they shouted rude insults. "There goes the lazy coal biter! Run out of coal, coward! I doubt a fool like you even knows which end of that spear to use." When Refr reached the house, he removed the head of the spear and threw away its shaft. He entered the house and found the room where Thorbjorn rested. Thorbjorn did not recognise him at first. Of course, Refr so rarely left the home. He announced, I am Refr, son of Stain, and I've come to demand compensation for the killing of that servant. You've killed a really good and hard-working man, and I'm willing to negotiate a suitable amount of money." Now Thorbjorn refused to pay him any money. He instead offered him a dull, unsharpened blade as compensation. To add insult to injury, he proclaimed, "A dull, unsharpened blade should be perfect for a dull, unsharpened man such as you, Refr." At this moment, Refr revealed the spearhead he had hidden, and he thrust it into Thorbjorn, killing him quickly and silently, whilst his wound waves spilled onto the rushes. Refr left the room. He closed the door, but another opened, so he hid. He found a large pile of driftwood and hid in the pile. Thorbjorn's body was soon found, and his servants searched the farm, they searched the nearby roads, and of course they could not find Refr. He was hiding at the house the whole time. Once night fell, he went home. He woke his mother. She asked, "Have you received compensation from Thorbjorn?" And Refr replied, "The squanderer of the sea's fire today offered me a broad, untempered blade and a whetstone with it. That was too little to take as compensation. So with the wounded serpents in my hand, I probed the path to his heart and killed that free-spending man." Thorgerd was overjoyed to hear what her son had done. She was very proud of this decisive, manly action. He had repaid their enemy for their awful insult done to the family. "Well said, and bravely done, my son. It may be too dangerous for you to stay here now, as other men may try to avenge our enemy's death. You should travel west, stay with my brother Gester at Bardastrand." She gave her son 2 horses, some valuable goods, and dressed him in fine clothes. He now looked like a brave and impressive man. His mother said, "I don't think that fate will bring you back here to me. We shall not meet again. Farewell, my child." And so Refr left his home, never to return. He had left his old enemies behind him, but he would soon make new enemies out west at Bardastrand.